I have 6 CNC routers, 3 laser engravers, and 1 3D printer. And with all this equipment, I've faced every challenge and fear that you're probably going through right now. So today, I'd like to address the 5 common fears when buying your first CNC machine and the solutions and how to overcome them. So let's get started. The number one fear that you're gonna have is probably cost. And I've seen it both ways right here, where somebody's afraid of the initial cost or somebody's afraid of the return on the investment. So what this person typically says, and what I've said in the past is, man, if I just had enough money to just buy this thing, I could be making a killing, right? Well, a couple solutions to address this fear are just to start small, right? You don't have to have a 4x8 CNC or a 5x10 CNC when you first start, right? If you just get a 2 foot by 2 foot CNC or an 18-inch by 18-inch CNC, there are CNCs at so many price points. The main thing is when you get into this world, just start, okay? There is so much to learn, so you just need to start. Now, let's say you don't even have enough money for that, right? What I always tell people is make what you can with what you have, right? So if you have a miter saw and you don't have enough money to really make that initial investment, just start making something with that miter saw, right? Make some pallet wood, cut stakes out, try something to get that initial investment so you can pay that $800 or pay that $4,000 to get that first CNC that you want. Now, let's say you have absolutely no tools. What you're gonna have to do is just hustle, right? Nobody's gonna hand you a CNC. It's not gonna fall from the sky, right? This ain't Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. You're gonna have to go out there and start hustling. Whether that's looking at Craigslist and flipping tools, whether that's flipping wood on Craigslist, I've done both of those things. You just have to go out there and hustle and grind, because if you're not even gonna try to hustle to get the money to get a CNC, along this journey, you're gonna give up at some point, because the CNC journey is not easy, but it's a lot of fun, and it does start, and you have to have a little bit of hustle. Now, the next thing that I hear a lot of times is, I won't get my money back, right? This is an investment, and I won't get my return on the investment, right? I call this a riskless Ricky, okay? Well, what if I said that by buying a $4,000 CNC, you're gonna make $12,000, right? Well, then it's not a risky investment, right? It's a justified investment. You spend 4, you're gonna make 12, okay? So what this riskless Ricky is, he does not have a plan to justify the cost. So what I would tell you, if you're scared about, I'm not making my money back, this thing could cost too much, what you have to do is formulate a plan on how you're gonna get your money back, just like any good investment, plan should be, right? So if I'm gonna spend $4,000, how I'm gonna make 3 times my money. And if you sit down and just write out a plan, a lot of times you're gonna figure it out, and that fear is gonna go away. And the last but not least is you can always just sell these things, okay? So I used to have 2 shop sabers, and the shop saber that I sold cut out over $1 million of product in 2 years, and then I ended up selling it for 75% of its value. So in order for that CNC to cut out those $2 million of product, the CNC cost was really only like $20,000. So if you do buy a $4,000 CNC and you don't get your money back, right, you can probably sell it for 75% of the cost that you bought it for. And so think of it in that scenario where you're not risking $4,000, you're only risking $1,000 because you can recoup the $3,000 whenever you sell it. All right, let's go to the second fear. And that one is the learning curve, right? And there's 2 separate fears inside of this one. You have the hump, the startup time, and then you have, your technical skills. So what I hear right here is, I don't have enough time, I'm too busy, I got 3 kids, I have 5 jobs, right? I'm working all the time, and the amount of effort that I'm gonna have to put in to get over that initial hump of just learning this thing and pressing go is gonna take way too long. Well, let me show you some numbers real quick, because I've been here and I've had to relearn this every CNC I bought. I have 4 CNCs with 3 different brands, 2 different size lasers, and a 3D printer, right? So press and go, in order to get there, does take some time. But your first cut should take you about 4 hours. So by the time you get the CNC and press go, your first cut is only gonna take you about 4 hours of time to figure it out. The next thing, your first carve is only gonna take you about 8 hours of time. So you can probably cut and start carving the exact same day and figure everything out. And your first product, your first really good product, you're probably gonna be able to make in your first month. So over a weekend, you get your first cut and your first, V-carve made, and then over that first month, you're probably gonna be able to make a good high quality product and start being able to generate some cash. Now, whenever you master this process and really master CNC machining and programming and all this other stuff, you're looking at, maybe 25 plus years, because you're never gonna master it. I have all these machines and I still have like I know about this much. So if your fear is the startup time, like that's not really a hump. It's just like a constant learning phase, and that's okay. All right? The next thing is the technical skills, right? I'm not smart enough, right? And what I always tell people, and I like to kind of do things this way because it really puts me in a good frame of mind. I always say, if it's hard for me, it's hard for somebody else. And so whenever it gets hard, most people quit or most people stop. And so when it gets hard, you just keep going because that's when most people quit, right? And one thing that I've had to teach myself is I'm not special, right? It's not just hard for me, right? It's not just hard for me because I'm dumb and I'm not smart enough and all that story, right? It's hard for everybody. And to give you a little background on where I got into CNC, so I got into CNC when I was 19 years old. I'm 28 now. Whenever I was 20 years old, I did not know they sold ground meat at the store. Okay, so I went to our local market and I saw this stuff in tubes and I was like, what is that, right? And it was hamburger meat. And like everybody buys it. I thought everybody ground their own meat. And so I say that to kind of put in perspective, like I was able to learn it before I even knew they sold meat at the store. So if you think you're not smart enough, I guarantee you are a lot smarter than I was, and I am, so you're going to be able to figure it out. The next thing we're going to be talking about is programming skills. So the two fears of there are going to be how complex that software is and computers, right? And so I can't model, it looks too complicated, right? And that's going to be your big fear. Like, man, I'm so nervous, like Aspire looks so crazy, or VCarve Pro or Xcarve or Xtool, all these different programs out there, you know, Fusion 360. Well, just take it one thing at a time. That's the solution for it. Believe it or not, I have all of these cool machines and I know zero 3D modeling. I simply draw everything with squares and circles and do the most basic drawings, and I've had $3 million products now, and I literally am drawing squares and circles. So do not feel like you have to be some genius or some Fusion 360 guru. It's not that, it's not that complicated. The one caveat I do have to this is I do see some people buy machines that it's very hard to figure out where to press go. And what I mean by that is if you have a machine and you don't know where the go button is and it doesn't have a good interface, I typically stay away from those, and I've learned this over a decent amount of time, that you want to make sure that you can at least press go. That's just, you'll know it when you see it, but make sure it's easy for you to press go on that machine. Now, the next thing is, I'm not good at computers, right? I don't know anything about computers. I'm not technologically savvy. Guys, I literally came out of the pasture and started working with computers, right? I didn't know what meat was, or I didn't know what meat was at the store, right? I was about as podunk country as you could possibly imagine whenever I got into CNCs. I kind of had to relearn what a USB was, what a gigabyte was. And so you don't have to be that smart. All you have to know is how to click and drag. If you can click with the mouse and drag with the mouse on a computer, you can get it. It's not that complicated. Everybody that you kind of see out there makes it seem a little complicated. I promise you it's actually pretty simple. Now, this one's near and dear to my heart, right? So what's going to happen is when you're looking at this, right, you're looking at spending $5,000 on a CNC, $1,000 on a CNC. So now you have to become a software guy, right, a computer modeler, a programmer. You have to become a woodworker or whatever kind of material you're going to use. And then you have to become a business person because that's a large investment and you want to make your money back, right? So those are kind of all these fears in there. Well, here's the thing about this whole running a business thing and all that good stuff, right? And a lot of times I hear you don't know where to start. Well, I have this saying, and I kind of live by this, and I'm not the most motivational guy ever, but just take the leap because you will probably fail, but you're not going to die, right? You're not going to die. So the worst thing that can happen is you fail. And when you fail, like I have multiple times, what you do, you pick yourself back up and you keep trying and you keep learning. That's why I have this big shop, because I cannot tell you how many times I have failed and fallen on my face, but I've got back up and I'm still here and I am not dead. So just take the leap. It is okay. If you don't know how to run a business, I promise you by doing business, you will be 10 times smarter at running a business than you were by not running a business and wondering how hard it is to run, right? Like, trust me, just take the leap. It is okay. You're going to fail, but you're not going to die, and you're going to be okay, and you're going to pick yourself back up. Now, other thing is marketing and sales, right? Selling is scary. Just post it. just post it, right? And if you can sell one, you can sell two. If you can sell two, you can sell four, right? You have to start off selling something, and you have to start off with one, right? I think I've sold 200,000 different products at this point. And you know how I started? With one, and then I sold two. And I just kept doing it because it was working, and I sold one and two. But the main thing is you post it and let people know about your stuff. Now, financial management. Bookkeeping is hard, and what if I make all this money and don't know how to manage it? Well, if you have that problem, I call that a good problem to have, and you should not be watching this video if you're worried about how much money you're going to make and how to actually manage all that money. So this is just a fear that I hear, but you really shouldn't be worried about it because you're on a different level if you're worried about how much money you're making. Now, community and support. Now, this one did take a long time for me to realize because I started back when there wasn't a lot of stuff out there for this, and so there's a lot of lack of technical support and feeling of alone. You don't have any guidance, you have no experts to talk to. So with this, my solution to this is whenever you buy a machine, make sure they have a forum or really good customer service. If any of my machines to this day do not have a forum with people talking about how to use that machine, a Facebook page, or some kind of customer service, then you're going to be lost because there is going to be little things that come up where you're like, man, what is this one little button that, what is this thing that's flashing, this alert that's flashing, right? You're going to need to visit that forum or talk to customer service. So if they have bad customer service or no forums, nobody to communicate with, I would not go ahead and get that machine. Get something else, and this will help you a ton. Now, the next thing, you have no guidance, you don't know any experts or anything like that. This is something that I have struggled with, and I think the CNC world still struggles with. There's not really a lot of experts out there. So what I have been working on for a very long period of time is I'm coming out with CIC Academy. So whenever we hit 100,000 subscribers and get 100,000 subscribers on this channel, I'm going to launch CIC Academy, where if you're a hobbyist and you want to get into CNC, I'm going to have step-by-step tutorials there on how to get your CNC started, the basic fundamentals. If you want to start making money with your CNC, you can go to CIC Academy and learn how to start making money with it. If you want to turn it into a business, you go to CIC Academy and turn it into a business. It's going to be a community with all of my courses on there, all these different modules so you can learn so you don't feel like you're left out, right? I'm gonna do Q&As, I'm gonna have speakers come on. It's gonna be sick. I'm so excited. We just gotta hit 100,000 subscribers first, and it's gonna be crazy. So if you wanna get notified when we launch CIC Academy, there is a link in the description where you can sign up and get on that list to get notified whenever we launch this thing. Now, the last thing I wanna leave y'all with is, guys, you got this. Just take the leap. Be fearless. You only have one life. I know it's just a CNC, but it is so much fun, and just don't have any fears. So you got this, and just take the leap. Have confidence in yourself. And remember, guys, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right.